Talk Radio, you're in to all things music.
Well, that ending was an abrupt one. As you know, we were touring and lining up the ducks to get started on a new record, tentatively called the Jesus Record. We were all busy thinking and concerning ourselves with how we might approach such a lofty, epic titling. And unfortunately, Rich got into a car wreck basically the week before we were scheduled to start recording. So that changed the course of history for me and lots of my friends, including you. We thought that maybe things were finalized and our chapter with Rich was over. And unbeknownst to us, the family and the important people that considered the idea that his music might live further considered that making a record anyway posthumously might not be a bad idea. So we embarked on about a 6-month project that was both fun and riveting and exciting and in some ways devastating all at the same time.
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Welcome, everybody, to Intersect Radio. I'm your host, the A-Train. Thank you for joining in with us today. My guest today, returning for part 2 of his interview that we did some months ago, my friend, your friend, Mr. Jimmy A. Guitarist, artist, photographer, dad, granddad, friend, all those things. And I'm glad he could make time for us today and come back. And, it's been kind of hectic here today for both of us. We're running around with like 2 chickens with our heads cut off, trying to get things done. But here we are, and welcome, Jimmy. Thank you for making time for us.
My pleasure, Aaron. It was sure fun last time, and I got a chance to listen to a couple of your guests along the way in the time between when we first spoke and now, which is now several months. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I was listening to our conversation yesterday, and we covered quite a bit, but the things we didn't get a chance to really get into are the things that you're doing now, things that you have been doing for maybe like the last 10 years. Let's start with your tenure with Rich Mullins and kind of progress to the present from there.
Well, that ending was an abrupt one. As you know, we were touring and lining up the ducks to get started on a new record, tentatively called the Jesus Record. We were all busy thinking and concerning ourselves with how we might approach such a lofty, epic titling. And unfortunately, Rich got into a car wreck basically the week before we were scheduled to start recording. So that changed the course of history for me and lots of my friends, including you. We thought that maybe things were finalized and our chapter with Rich was over. And unbeknownst to us, the family and the important people that considered the idea that his music might live further, considered that making a record anyway posthumously might not be a bad idea. So we embarked on about a 6-month project that was both fun and riveting and exciting and in some ways devastating all at the same time. Keeping in mind we were all mourning the loss of Rich and grieving his passing, and in my case, not only that, but I was a full-time employee of Rich, and it seemed to me like I was going to have to make some dramatic changes to replace that employment, as if I had been working for Ford Motors, and one day the plant was bombed. So anyway, I luckily found lots of other endeavors, and we ended up making that record together and having a pretty good time. And ironically, it was probably the biggest selling record I'd ever been a part of in terms of ownership. And we agreed from the beginning that we would donate our proceeds to the mission work that Rich had started in the Southwest United States. So it's funny that we were given a great opportunity, I think, and we unanimously decided to give back what would, unbeknownst to us, become the largest selling record that we had played on to date. I think that record sold 1.5 million copies, which is almost 2 million records. I'd like to have a quarter for each one. Yeah. And you were a partner in that project. So we then toured for a couple of years, the Ragamuffin Band, yourself, me, Rick Elias, and come on, Mark Robertson. Did that on purpose, and various groups of people came with us here and there. So we spent almost 2 years touring that record, and by the time I was done with that, I was really wiped out and ready for a break.
Now, I don't think you took a break. I think you went right into like full-time photography, and your painting took off, and you started doing all these record covers, working for various labels here in town, doing art shows, doing office buildings, all sorts of stuff.
I can explain all that.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was that the road kind of wiped me out. I mean, we were doing 220 dates a year, I think, by the time we quit. And I was ready for a break. Well, lucky for me, I had been doing album covers and lots of other ancillary projects for, since I moved to Nashville, really. One of the first persons I met was the head of a giant graphics art firm. And so I ended up doing lots and lots of record covers. Well, one of those guys was a guy named Michael W. Smith, who befriended me, and I ended up doing the first record I did for Smitty was Live the Life, I think. Black and white photography, pretty memorable cover, and that sort of set the stage for the domino of doing lots and lots more photography. I was lucky that I could kind of sideways out of touring and instead replace that touring income with photography and art income. And Smitty actually hired me to work for his record company at the time called Rocketown. And I spent about 2.5 years there until the digital download business impacted the Christian music business, along with every other one, to the point where they had to downsize. I was ready to move onto my own anyway by then, but basically, I think that chance to get behind the desk as an art director and a A&R guy at Rocketown was really helpful for me. It gave me a real sense of history in terms of where I had been and what I had experienced that informed the direction that I then took with my life, which was to be a little less in front of people and a little bit more on the side. All that changed in a few years because I began to write more, and through my songwriting, I became very close friends with a guy named Peter Furler, who had just exited a 17-year experience with a band called the Newsboys, which was quite successful. And we began writing songs together, and one thing led to another. We decided to start a band, and that band consisted of myself on guitar, Peter on drums, and a guy named John Painter from a band here in Nashville called Fleming and John, pretty successful band in the 90s, and a guy named Steve Taylor, the front man for Steve Taylor all those many, many years ago. So we made a record that set the stage to re-enter the music world in a way that was less as a sideman and more as a full-blown participant. You know, it was a 25-25-20 four-way split, unlike my Mullins experience.
So are you still doing that, or how did that work out? What's going on with that now?
Well, a bunch of things have happened. One, we finished a great record, I think. We did a Kickstarter to fund it, and it was extremely successful. So we made a very good record, did about a year's worth of promotion and marketing and touring. And then we landed another opportunity to do a record with a guy named Steve Albini in Chicago, which was a great experience to get up there and do a 5-day live top-to-bottom record with a guy named Daniel Smith from a band called the Danielson Family Band. And it was the 5 of us literally just doing a kind of an off-the-cuff punk record. It took about maybe, 6 weeks to write the material, but interestingly, we wrote all the material pretty quickly, and then Steve and Daniel kind of did a handoff on the lyrics between them. So we did a very quick write and a very quick recording, and we thought that was going to turn into a little more than it did. Probably a good thing it didn't, because by that time Peter Furler's solo career was starting to gain momentum, and Steve Taylor got hired by Lipscomb University here in Nashville to start up and lead a film department, media and film department at a major university. So he was suddenly taken out of our reach in a way. And back to Painter being the kind of he's a string arranger and a horn guy and a producer, and he had been fortunate that year to do the Kings of Leon's record, and so he was having to travel around the country here and there and conduct a small string section and horn piece at select dates for the Kings of Leon. So everybody's life kind of got busy. And for me, I started going blind. So my life was about, I was in for a big surprise during the course of those years, unbeknownst to me, that I would begin to lose my sight. So it's probably a good thing that it wasn't, it didn't explode and become as successful as maybe the membership thought it might be, because we had high expectations, and we were aiming high. I think the music is valid and delicious and inventive and fun. And that led to the idea of, finally, I guess I had gotten the goose that maybe it was time for me to start doing some solo work again. So I began to think about doing a record myself. And Aaron, you may remember me asking you to be a part of that, and we would get together maybe once or twice a month and kind of fool around together, all under the guise of doing something that I could then use as a demo to kickstart and do a fundraiser for myself. And so many things have gotten in the way of that, which I can explain. It is still coming, definitely, but the biggest stake on my plate is blindness.
Yeah, I was waiting for an explanation.
So, but you'll be happy to hear that I've got about 3 records worth of material now in my pocket. I just need to decide how to undertake the doing of it. Back a few short years ago, I could still see, and I was kind of just getting a grip on recording process myself and figuring out a way that I could undertake such a thing. And so much has happened since then that it will take us the whole rest of the show to explain. And are we expecting a break? I remember last time suddenly we were, there was a commercial break. It doesn't feel like there is one.
Well, just be patient, young man.
Okay.
There will be a commercial break.
Okay.
But for right now, I know that you had a studio and you just moved out recently. Because there's a lot of building going on here, folks, in Nashville. And the landscape is changing quite a bit. And Jimmy had a great studio here in Nashville, and I think that building is being parsed out now. Apartments, something like that. Yeah, man. It happens. Happened in San Francisco when I was there. But I want you to tell everybody, folks, when Jimmy said he was going blind, that was not a joke. And that was for real. And I'd like for him to tell us about that, how it's coming about, what it is, if there is something that can be done about it, that sort of thing.
I'll be happy to tell you about it. The funny thing is that for me, I too thought it was a joke at first because I started seeing things kind of wacky in one of my eyes. So I went to my physician, who is a patron of mine. So she knew me for many, many years, and she did an exam. And she said, I can't see anything. We're going to have to send you to an ophthalmologist. So the ophthalmologist said, well, this doesn't look good, but we're going to have to send you to the retinologist. So they just kept getting into deeper and deeper zones in the human eye. And finally, upon further inspection, my diagnosis was adult macular degeneration. Come to find out, a very common malady for people of age, especially 70 plus. So in my case, I guess I was at about 57 at the time. I am now 62, so that was about 5 years ago when the first onset became obvious. And over the course of the last few years, I've gone from being, fairly sighted to this point. I know, for the last couple of years, I can't drive. And as of the last probably 9 months, I can't read anymore. So computers are out. I use a high-powered magnifying glass to read my phone so that I can stay in touch and communicate and send and receive emails. Obviously, it's a really good time to be blind because technology, we can speak into our phone and it records what we're saying, and you can send that as an email. Likewise, you can receive an email, and I can tell my phone through hand signals to read to me the email that has just been sent. So it's a pretty good time to be handicapped because the progress in the world of handicappedness is expanding and in our favor. And so that being the case, a couple of my friends, one in particular, Andy Peterson, runs a film company here in town, regularly bought art for his wife, and he was very concerned that my studio would, once we found out my studio had been purchased, I was a renter. Once it had been purchased, I was going to be tossed.
Okay, we're going to stop there, and we'll be back to continue that. Thank you, folks, for hanging in there with us. Thank you for Pitbull Audio, Studio Instrument Rentals. We'll be right back.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing.
you're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
That's a thin but strong chord by my guest, Mr. Jimmy Abegg. Thanks, people, for hanging in there with us during the commercial break. We were just talking about Jimmy's life now as he kind of finds his way through the changes that God has brought upon him. And the great thing about that is, you know, this is God's doing, and God hasn't deserted him, and God is definitely with him. And we're going to let Jimmy continue to tell us about his journey in that respect.
Aaron, it should be noted that was you on drums a second ago on the thin but strong chord. It was sure fun getting an opportunity to make a record of my own material, having spent 10 years or so with Charlie Peacock. And, of course, Vince Ebo, the great singer. And it just warms my heart to hear you play that tune. So I'm glad we recorded it. Thank you, man. Anyway, so I was faced with losing my building. A development company in Chicago had come to Nashville and purchased a number of properties, one of which was this 120-year-old textile mill that I had a 3,000 square foot studio in to paint and make music and do my life. And it was extremely affordable and really a productive beehive for me and my friends. And once that was obviously going to be going away, and coupled with the idea that I was losing my sight, and then add to that, kind of a equilibrium income oriented lifestyle. We never made money. We always kind of made ends meet. And so knowing that I needed to find a different space, and knowing that coupled with my new coming loss of vision, that I was going to probably be better off if I built a studio in my backyard at home. Since I own my own home in Nashville, it would be easy to get a building drawn and permitted and put up. The only hiccup is money. So my friend said, why don't we throw a benefit concert to raise money to build your studio? So unbeknownst to me, the assembly of folks, it took a while to get there, but my son-in-law and daughter offered a great venue to hold the benefit, and Amy Grant, Michael W. Smith. I had a whole host of people offer to come and sing and play, to be on the ticket to help get people to come out. And so after about a year's worth of planning, we finally held an event at the Blue Room at Third Man Records here in Nashville, where my son-in-law is the boss. And he graciously lent us that space. And Aaron played with Dave Perkins, and that was a highlight for me. I decided to just keep it down to three live acts: Amy Grant and her group, and Aaron played with Dave Perkins, and my son-in-law, his band called the Soledad Brothers, opened the night, and it was well attended, 300 and some odd people, and we raised about $30,000 that night, which I thought was an astonishing feat, and remains a big surprise to me. And during the course of the last year, that gave us the money to finish the drawings, to get the plans ready to go, and to sort of identify how we were going to get this done, and knowing full well that we needed to raise a little bit more than that. So during the year interim, we were able to get the drawings done, the plans approved by the Metro, and I live in a historic district, so they had to be particularly special to meet the expectation of a historic district zoning law. And so now, unbeknownst to us, it was going to be a bottleneck into the building boom of Nashville. Now it's hard to find the subcontractors to do the work, although I've been told that we have finally found someone that is interested in pouring the foundation and getting started.
Do you have enough money, or is your fundraiser still active and going?
Yeah, the fundraiser is still active and going, and we don't have enough money. So any of your listeners that feel inspired to help out, me and my wife and my kids and my friends like Aaron would be greatly appreciative. If you just went to my website, jimmyabeg.com, and look under benefit donate button, you can hear the whole story. In fact, I would encourage your listeners to go and check it out, because there is a fantastic filmic piece, a short interview with me done by one of my closest friends that sort of explains my situation and my condition. I felt like one of the things that was happening because of social media is that there was lots of gossip out on the street that I had come down with cancer, or, both of my arms were broken and I couldn't play anymore, and all sorts of crazy, extraordinary rumors were going. So I felt like the best thing for me to do would be to tell my story quickly and succinctly and truthfully, and let people know what's really going on. I'm actually super healthy. I'm just losing my vision. So that in hand helps inform any of your listeners in my life. I have lots of plans. God is not done with me, for sure. There are so many plates being juggled right now. I'm working on multiple music projects, multiple art projects. Just finished a fantastic music and art project with a guy named Stu G that was in a band called Delirious, also disbanded maybe 6 or 8 years ago. And I was apparently instrumental in holding his hand through that departure. And we started talking about a project that was primarily music about 6 or 7 years ago. And now that project turned into a book called the Words from the Hill on Zondervan Publishing, and a record that I think it is being distributed independently called The Beatitudes Project, featuring Michael W., Amy, Anthony Skinner, Audrey Assad, a whole host. I think there's 15 songs. Well, funny enough, he had asked me to do the art, and so I collaborated with a friend of mine who can see, and we together made, I think, really quite astonishing art for the packaging and all of the ancillary promotion and marketing materials for that project.
Do you have any idea when it's going to be released, or what are the plans for it? How is it going to be presented to the public once the hard copy stuff is out there? Is there going to be, with all those people singing on the record, is there any plan to duplicate that live in live performance?
Well, Stu has asked me to help him do that. I don't know that will actually come into reality. I think that there's a chance that there might be a little bit of a fragmented version of that will tour. He's invited me to go with him to Jerusalem to do a kickoff of that project. I don't know if that will occur. I think there's so many artists involved, and it's such a compilation factor that it would be a real surprise to me. But I think that the book that he did is revolutionary. It talks about, it couldn't be more timely. The refugee issues that we're facing as a nation right now are talked about plainly in his book, not specific to this generation, but to every generation, that the Beatitudes apply across the board to so many people groups and so many cultural situations, both disadvantaged and advantaged. And I think that more than anything, I think that this project will set the stage for something really sweet for Stu G. Whether or not I'm a part of that, I really can't say. I do know that that there is some plan in place. The record is out. I know he's selling the record and the book on the road. He plays guitar with Michael W. Smith. So if you get a chance to go see Smitty sometime soon, introduce yourself to Stu and tell him I said hi. But I actually don't know what their strategy or their plan is.
Because, we had a lot of different singers on the Jesus record, but we also had a great lead vocalist of our own who could cover a lot of things. And, some of that stuff, like, we just couldn't do it. We just couldn't pull it off because it was just a special vocal performance by one of our friends here in Nashville. But that's going to be interesting. I've been hearing about. Did you play on that record with me? On Stu G's? Yeah. No. We talked about it. We talked a lot about it. I've heard talk about it when we were over at Smokestack. We talked about it, and for the longest time, I actually thought Stu G was Stu Hess, which is not a G. Yeah. So I haven't even met Stu G yet, but I'm going to get to meet him soon. Yeah, you need to interview him for this. Yeah, and hopefully we'll have him on the show, and we'll all get to know Stu at the same time. But your studio now. We talked a little bit about the plans for the studio. It's going to be like a multi-function sort of art project, right? Not just confined to painting and stuff like that. And you've had people offer you sound gear and all that sort of stuff to get a studio set up for writing.
Yeah, interestingly enough, at this point in my life, I've decided that I need to make a record every year just to document my journey. God seems to be giving me the material to do so I'm just plowing away at it. Interestingly, my painting, it will be interesting to see what develops as I get less and less sighted. There's a long history of, what do you call that? Not very well sighted painters, Cezanne, Monet, even contemporaries. There's a guy named Sargi Mann from England that maybe passed a year or two ago that set a great example for me. He lost his vision at 35, and unlike me, he went totally blind. So he made great paintings for the rest of his life, and left a great legacy of expression. He said something that has stuck with me all this time. He said, as long as I'm having experiences, I have something to paint. And so for me, that holds true not only in my painting life, but in my music life. And lucky for me, I'm surrounded by fantastic friends and community. I can't imagine being isolated. And I think that in some ways, this malady has struck me for a greater purpose than just me. And so I feel like I have an opportunity to talk about how to muscle through and how to live optimistically. And even though in my status, my loss is ambiguous. I don't know when I will begin to go more and more blind. I don't know if my sight will ever get better. I've been told probably not, thus the title degenerative disease. I think that over time it's just going to get worse and worse. And so I'm trying to prepare myself for that. And luckily, some friends of mine that own a distribution company that distributes microphones and preamps and high-end audio gear have offered to help set me up with a very modest home recording situation that would be extraordinarily beneficial to me. And in fact, the offer comes from some people that distribute and manufacture Rupert Neve products to any audiophiles out there. That name would mean a great deal because he's a elderly now, 91 or 92, but he's a legendary designer of audio gear. And in fact, it's been told to me that he has lent his skills to the Alabama School of the Blind to help assemble blind-based operating systems for recording engineers throughout the world that can't see, and you can get training there at the Alabama School for the Blind. So I think, there's something about that malady that motivates him, and I feel lucky that I got caught in the crosshairs of that because I think that the outcome will mean that we can meet at my new space, which is, it's a generous spot. It's about 20 by 30 feet and probably, it's very high ceiling. It'll be a very doable workplace for the rest of my life. So I'm very excited about that prospect as well, because I think at a time when I should be terribly bummed out, I'm actually excited out of my pants to get started on all these projects that seem to be coming my way.
Yeah, man, that's really good. I'm glad about that, and I can't wait to see that building, that room, and see you getting started in that. We're about to go to another break, but before we do, just let the people know what your web address is again. JimmyAbegg.com. JimmyAbegg.com. One word, Jimmy Abegg. Thank you. So go there, folks, and be generous. Let's get this building built very soon. Hopefully before the end of summer it'll be up and Jimmy will be working in it and it'll be all good. So once again, before we leave now, we'll be back in about 2 minutes. Thank you to Pitbull Audio and Studio Instrument Rentals. And I'd like to thank the good people over at my stick company, Innovative Percussion. Those guys, they make the best wood. Their wood is so good. We'll be right back. See ya.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Welcome back. That's a recording by my guest today, Mr. Jimmy Abegg. Jimmy, that's Entertaining Angels, correctly? That album was done back in 1991. Man, and it still sounds fresh. It still sounds good. So you guys should go check it out. Is it on YouTube? It's out there somewhere. Yes, it's out there, you know. Everything that was ever recorded is out there somewhere, you know. Smithsonian, iTunes, you know, those people. Yeah, go check that record out. It's really good. It has stood the test of time. And Jimmy is still writing music and has actually gotten very involved in a lot of songwriting workshops lately and has kind of been all over the country doing these things.
I've been lucky that I discovered that late. I think because I was a pregnant host of lots of info. Having written songs and played with folks my whole life, I had no idea that I knew as much as I did about the craft and art of songwriting and discipline. Something that set the stage for that for me was my dear friend Phil Madeira called me on a Monday saying he does a workshop twice a year with his partner Merrill Farnsworth called Mercyland Songwriters Workshop, and they usually have about 18 to 22 signups, and they'd had a rash of men who had fallen out of the program because of personal issues. I think a guy lost his dad, and another guy lost another relative, and they had to cancel at the last minute. So in order to balance out the feng shui, half women, half men, he was looking for a man that would come and participate at the workshops. So I said yes, and that was on a Monday. We left on Thursday or Wednesday. A couple of days later, blessed are the flexible. They don't get bent out of shape. So I left on a Wednesday. We drove to Florida and got together with about 25 people to do what was then my first workshop experience, which absolutely changed my life. I'll set the stage for you. The first evening meetup was a get acquainted session, and of course, you start with Phil and Meryl, the leaders of the workshop, and the teachers and admin. And Phil starts off by singing a song, and then it's kind of a pass around. The next guy sings a song, and then the next girl sings one of her songs, and the next guy sings a song. Then a couple that came together, they did a song, and then another guy did a song, and then a gal did a song. And next thing you know, I'm looking around the room, realizing I'm next to Phil. He's to my immediate left, and I'll be darned if that circle isn't going to come to me, and I'm going to have to do a song. And so that thought had not occurred to me literally until at the very last second. And so luckily I have a lot of songs. And so I thought, well, this one is kind of fresh. I know it well enough to do it kind of okay. And as it turned out, I knew it a lot better than I thought I did. And in fact, by the time the evening was over, I realized that I am, in fact, a career guitar singer, songwriter, and that I should not be ashamed of singing or playing any of my material, because I was, hands down, one of the best things of the evening. Not that the other stuff was terrible. It wasn't. It was just that they were just beginning to try to crack the code. And here, Phil, career professional, and right next to him, me. I've been doing this for so long that it was, I in fact experienced a little bit of shame, because I recognized that I was afraid to share my song. And in fact, I should be very happy to give that art and that craft to who's ever with me, to share that what little I know about it, to help the group. And so that week was one of those weeks just filled with astonishment that I could actually be helpful. I ended up co-writing probably 8 songs. They couple you with, the morning is typically spent in wordsmithing, and the afternoon is paired up with a co-writer. So you just kind of get what you got from the morning and team up, and by the end of the day, you hope to have a completed piece. And on some days there were 2 sessions, so you would write with somebody for the first hour and then write with somebody else for the second hour or hour and a half, whatever it was. Time is at an essence, or very special. So you only have so much time, and I guess I was really surprised, because I was. It was obvious to me that I was easily the best guitar player in the room with Phil, and I was easily the best finisher. I mean, everybody by the end of the week, they were running to me to help finish their song. So I know that I do that well, and so that experience was a fantastic blessing on every level.
So tell us lyrics. That's always been a brick wall for me, writing lyrics. How do you start writing a song in that way, in lyrics? I know playing guitar is one thing, but lyrically, it would seem to me a bigger challenge.
Well, you're right. I think that for me, I faced the same kind of issues in my own life, that I always felt like I was a little weak on the lyric side, and especially strong on the guitar side or on the melody music side. So, but what I came to find out is that the only reason that was true is that I exercised my guitar side a heck of a lot more than I exercise my lyric side. So one of the things that I learned at the workshop, the first workshop, and now I'm on to workshop number 5, we can talk about all of them up to this point. In fact, I've been invited to administrate with them, join their team, and a guy named Rod Taylor, a local teacher and bass player here in Nashville, has invited me to help him with his workshop. So I'm pretty excited about the workshop world. Back to the lyric idea, these days would start with the administrator kind of leading us in a sort of a prompting session that would be basically choosing something personal from your archive. In my case, I didn't know in time to do anything, so I just pulled off my wedding ring and said, well, this is pretty personal to me. And she said, well, that's great. That's a great prompt. Why don't you write for 5 minutes? And she would assign everybody the same 5 minutes. You would have your own prompt, but you would just have to kind of free associate with your prompt for 5 minutes. And so during the course of a day, without giving away any trade secrets, it's a literary tool, of course, common in writer circles, that you have something that instigates a topic, and from that instigation, you're free to do whatever you want.
It's not always a can of beer or a broken heart.
No, although cans of beer and broken hearts often come into the riffing, and in Nashville probably more so than other places. Pickups,
trucks.
Yeah. But so what would then happen is that after you would do prompting, multiple sessions of prompting that are literally 4 or 5 minutes apiece, you've now got an assembly of a few things that you've written, and you pass your paper to somebody who chooses out of your writing something that stands out to them. So they'll pick a sentence or a few words that's, to them, the hook of whatever you wrote. So then you get that back, and by the end of the morning, you've assembled quite a bit of writing that you can choose from to then go into the afternoon and write something based on that theme. Obviously, nothing is typically done by the time you get to lunch, but during the course of the afternoon, you can take what started as a germ of a good idea, and this would apply to you on a daily basis. I've been encouraged to do something people call memoiring or journaling. You can sit down every day. Once again, thank God for modern technology. I have an iPad that someone gifted me with, and on that I have a teleprompter program that I can speak into, and it notes what I said, and then when I go back over it, I can edit it down into something that makes sense and ultimately end up with lyric poetry that I like and then can use for a song. So it's just kind of a methodical approach to something that some people are born with very naturally. Other people like me have to work at it. The other thing I recognize, the workshops revealed to me that I'm pretty lazy. My talent was there when I was born. I developed it a little bit as a teenager and as a young adult, and then I've kind of been living off fumes here and there for the rest of much of my career. I mean, I had to work and learn things and rehearse and practice, and like everybody does. But I also noted that, in the areas that I'm weak, I tend to avoid singing in the morning. I tend to avoid playing my scales. I tend to avoid writing lyrics. And that is no longer the case with me. Now I'm not only writing lyrics every week and working on new material, but I've taken up the violin, of all things. I've always wanted to play old-time fiddle. I'm drawn to Appalachian and old-time simple rhythms and simple music. And I think that my blindness, my lack of sight, leads me to a muscle memory area of my personality that I did not know existed, that I can find my way around because of my hearing and because of my muscle memory, so that I'm learning fiddle actually quite quickly, and we'll probably soon be using that in my live show. When that's another funny thing. For about 12 or 13 years, I kind of went without. I didn't want to play, and publicly, just because if you're any good at it, you're going to end up on the road, and if you end up on the road and you're good at that, you're going to end up on the road all year. So my strategy has always been to figure out how to stay home. So that may sound funny to some of your music listeners, but for me, it's just I had a whole life of it, and I was ready to pass the baton. But funny enough, my phone started ringing about a year or two ago with invitations to go out and do shows again by myself, which I hadn't done in a long, long time. And I finally accepted one that I will do in August, Escape to the Lake, which is a festival that takes place right outside of Chicago, I guess. And I'm in the lineup to do a solo performance that night, which I'm very much looking forward to. I think I'm at a point in my life where I'm really open to talking about my life and my handicap and my loss and my gain and my music and my faith, and all of it meets me at a really good time of life. So I'm very excited about it, very encouraged, and I'm looking forward to playing a little banjo, playing a little fiddle, playing a little guitar, and telling my story.
When is that concert?
August sometime. You'd have to go to Escape to the Lake. Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact dates. They've just started publicizing that. But they do it every year, and I've heard it's a great festival. It's probably under 3,000 in attendance, and kind of a family affair. I don't know a lot about it, but I'm looking forward to joining those folks and enjoying that weekend.
Man, you got a lot going on. That's great. I'm really happy about that. Before we end today's show, folks, we want to give you Jimmy's web address again. That's jimmyabegg.com, JIMMYABEGG.com. Please go there, and that's a great, what did you call it? It's not a video. It's a little film, and it really tells Jimmy's story brilliantly. I mean, we all... Oh, got him an invite to the TED Talks. When are you going to take him up on it?
Oh, yeah. Hopefully that'll be in the fall.
Okay. So, we were all speechless at Third Man that night because we weren't expecting that, and it was done so well. So if you get a chance, please get a chance. Take a moment, go there, listen to Jimmy's story, and please make a contribution if you can. Thank you all for listening to the show today. Check out our archives at intertalkradio.com. The show is Intersect.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.